And that is the meaning of life. Anywho, let's have a wee shifty at this. If I just push the right buttons.
Bullets. And now, at the same time, the same allies are having to fall in behind Israel and offer its support. So there is a diplomatic difficulty there. But at the same time, the fear of regional escalation is what really worries everybody, and particularly the European leaders who have expressed it most directly in those social media posts overnight.
Paul, thank you very much for that. That's Paul Brennan with the reaction from Europe. And Al Jazeera's defence editor, Alex Kotopoulos, is joining us now. Alex, tell us about the drones, the missiles that Iran chose to deploy and how they did it.
So they fired off about 330 of these in a total mix. So these would have been a mix of drones, they would have been cruise missiles, and about 110 ballistic missiles. Now, the drones that they fired off, we call them drones, but really they're being used in a cheap cruise missile way. It's the Shahed 136 that's been used in Ukraine. It's got the range, but it hasn't really got that much of a warhead. We're talking like 50 kilograms compared to, say, a ton or half a ton of warhead for a ballistic missile. So they're small, they're kind of nuisance-based. They're designed to try and overwhelm Israel's very advanced, very sophisticated air defense systems, which are multi-layered. So the real test has been for Israel tonight is to be able to intercept that many ballistic missiles fired at the country itself. Mm-hmm.
And the Israeli military spokesperson has said that they've intercepted something like 99% of what's been fired from Iran. Is it a victory for Iran to be able to send hundreds of drones and missiles into Israel, something they haven't done before, or is it a victory for Israel being able to intercept most of them?
That's the really interesting question, isn't it? Iran has obviously never done this before, but is holding a lot of what it's in its inventory back. It's got hundreds of more missiles. It's got probably a high hundreds to a few thousand more drones as well. So I think both sides will be analysing the data here to try and see how accurate are the ones that did get through. By the way, an Israeli air base was put out of action, so it was hit by at least 15 of these ballistic missiles. So it has done some damage. Some have got through. Saying that, the Israelis have also intercepted vast amounts of these, and they've done so very well. They've got to use their Arrow 3 interceptor here, which took out ballistic missiles outside the Earth's atmosphere. So Israel's defense system works on a multi-layered thing. You've got Iron Dome, intercepting the low-level staff.
That's the one we hear most about.
That's the one we hear most about because it's based around Gaza, and it's been intercepting Hamas rockets in the past, which have been very, very rudimentary, very basic. And then you've got higher tier, mid-level stuff about the level of the Patriot, which is David's sling. And then you've got Arrow 3, which is designed to intercept all the advanced stuff, the big stuff that we are seeing here being tested.
Okay. Alex, thank you very much for that. That's our defense editor Alex Kotopoulos. Well, let's go to Gaza now and bring in our correspondent Tariq Abu Azoum, who's joining us live from Rafah in the south. And Tariq, how are people there reacting to these Iranian strikes on Israel?
Yes, Elizabeth, in fact, the Iranian attack on the Israeli territories have been sparking more reactions among Palestinians who have been closely following the latest Iranian retaliation to the Israeli latest attack on an Iranian consulate in Damascus. They have been describing that as a normal retaliation, and that's practically what have been noticed in Hamas' official statement that has been released just a couple of minutes ago, describing the Iranian retaliation to be normal and also to be as a retaliation to the Israeli ongoing attacks on the Iranian consulate and also targets across the Middle East. So clearly what Palestinians are seeing is that they have been also observing that this attack by Iran could be a clear and further sign of potential escalation looming at the horizon, as they are completely seeing that the region is witnessing high tension and high escalation in the coming hours, as they have been also saying that Israel will strongly retaliate to the Iranian attack, as they are right now more coordination has been made between Israel and its key allies in the region. But Palestinians here right now are no longer care much about the Iranian or even the Israeli retaliation, because they have been under wide military attacks in the past few hours, where many areas across the territory have been widely bounded, including a Nusayrat refugee camp, where Israel is focusing right now on Gaza's arena as they are trying to expand the corridor that has been recently established, splitting between the north and the south, while casualties among civilians continue to rise, specifically that one of the latest has been widely recorded in a Nusayrat refugee camp, where people there are still trapped under intense Israeli bombardment. So clearly, Palestinians right now are concentrating on affording the basic needs amid unrelenting bombing campaign across the territory.
Tariq, thank you very much for that. Tariq Abu Azoum with the latest live in Rafah in southern Gaza. We spoke earlier with David DeRoche. He's an associate professor at the National
of imperial nations is illegal. All of these things are supposed to be unlawful. People are supposed to have social, economic, and cultural rights. But what we've seen in reality is that the implementation of international law has been dominated by the imperialist forces, by the United States and Britain and Europe. And so what we have is them calling this called rules-based international order, which is supposed to be an international order in which they make the rules and everyone else must line up in order, or else be bombed, be subject to coups, be subject to regime change, be subject to genocide. And what's happened over the past 6 months, what happened on October 7th with the heroic action of the Palestinian resistance, and what happened today with the necessary and entirely justified retaliation of the Islamic Republic of Iran, is it has underlined and shown the reality for everyone in the world to see, and everyone in the world, especially in the global south, because this is once again the global south breaking the compass of humanity, breaking the compass of the world to put an end to this ongoing impunity of the Zionist regime and its imperialist allies, and expressing, a true form of South-South solidarity that is also enhancing the material conditions necessary for the Palestinian resistance to win its victory over the Zionist regime as well. Because the defeat of Zionism and the defeat of imperialism go hand in hand. And this kind of retaliatory action, what the Islamic Republic of Iran did today is it not only sent drones to the Zionist regime and destroyed a military base, it also destroyed the idea that the Zionist regime is above the law, is above all sense of justice, and that no one will hold it accountable. Because for too long, the international community has meant seen imperialist powers responsible for the theft of the wealth of the world and the destruction and genocide against the peoples of the world. Well, it's clear that the international community is really representing a true sense, or to take these words in true sense, by the nations in defending humanity, and Iran's retaliatory and completely justified and necessary action today is 100% part of that.
Regional configuration and how it has now changed. The equation is not in favor of the Israeli regime nor the U.S., and the genocidal war obviously has exposed the true face of Israel, which is why okay, we're going to cross on over now live to listen to the RGC General Salami speaking right now. Let's take a listen.
The west of Jordan is, and also parts of the occupied territories, and the Iron Dome and their anti-missile systems which exist. We had to be able to infiltrate this very complicated and complex and state-of-the-art system, and we had to design our operation in a way that our missiles and our ballistic missiles and our drones had to be able to infiltrate this system, and we had to pinpoint our targets on the ground, and this is also at a time when there is an electronic war also ongoing. And as far as an electronic war is something that is very serious, it can definitely change the equations of the war. It can be very decisive. And that is why we had to be very elaborate in our attack. It had to be designed very creatively and very smart. And it had to also be something that they were not familiar with, and not to be able to fight against it. They should
potentially coordination, and that could escalate things dramatically on a number of fronts, not just Iran. And this is the concern. Sending them in swarms up to 40, 50, that could potentially overwhelm their defense systems if they're not all shot down. And then you follow it up with cruise missiles, and then with ballistic missiles. That could be, that you can see where the escalation is going to be going into effect. So this is potentially, we're going down a slippery slope here.
Amid a chorus of Western leaders condemning Iran and pledging their support for Israel, India, China and Russia have called on both sides to show restraint.
We are seriously concerned at the escalation of hostilities between Israel and Iran, which threatens the peace and security in the region. We call for immediate de-escalation, exercise of restraint, stepping back from violence and return to the path of diplomacy.
China expresses deep concern over the current escalation and calls on relevant parties to exercise calm and restraint to prevent further escalations. China calls on the international community, especially countries with influence, to play a constructive role for the peace and stability of the region.
We now potentially face a new acute crisis in the Middle East. Everything depends on the next steps, or their absence, by the parties involved.
Former U.S. Military Officer Scott Bennett spoke about the possible scenarios that he could foresee for the situation in the Middle East.
Three areas I see this escalating: either a settlement where it quietly goes away, two, an escalation where Israel escalates with a response, and then Iran will respond to that with even more destructive force, or Israel engages in a doomsday war scenario where it sets off explosions and attacks in America, tries to blame it on Iran, possibly in Europe, with the delusion that America and Europe are going to be tricked or goaded into a war against Iran and all the other Muslim countries, I might add, including Russia and China, who are uniting with Iran in self-preservation. I don't think anyone in the West has a desire or an appetite to escalate. Now, the Biden administration, I think, has already made the calculation it will lose miserably in the election if it is so foolish and reckless as to engage in a war against Iran. And once that starts, it will only end in the defeat of the United States. The United States has no hope of any victory against Yemen, against Iran, against any other party there, because the entire Muslim world is united against the genocide of the Palestinian people. It's become very simple. While the United States is still on this delusional lie that only the Zionists in the American State Department and the American Biden administration believe, and that is, Israel is a victim and it's simply defending against terrorism. It is not a victim, and it is not defending against terrorists. It is engaging in a genocide, pure and simple. The International Court of Justice has concluded that, and I think the vast majority of the world's populations have concluded that.
Well, that's all we have time for this news hour. Up next, Oksana Boyko is on Worlds Apart, and we'll be back at the top of the hour with the latest news updates. See you then.
Any of the messages that I have, can we be calm, can we do this? There is one from Emmy Rose that says, while some in the West will try to spin Iran's attack as Israel's fault, it is in reality good versus evil. And I've said this to you many a time. It's this ideology that is underpinning all of this that somehow we need to strip bare from all of the West.
We do, and I want to talk about this a little later on in the show, but also the ideology permeates.
I cannot listen to that shite. How disgusting is this? They're using a country, retaliating against a different country for obvious reasons, because that country blew up their fucking dudes. It's some sort of the ideology behind it. What the fucking Fruit Loops? Look at this wee poofy fucking doctor bastard. He's more fucking concerned about mincing in the fucking public eye than any of this shite. Oh, fuck me. Jubrinka! You look, have you ever seen a more...
The People's Channel.
They took away, they can't. They took away their DVR again, the bastards.
From 11, join
you can't rewind or stupidness. Aye, Marco Portillo, that's fair and balanced fucking news. Let's go to RT. This, like, GB News and Top TV make RT seem fucking fair and balanced. It's amazing.
Asking, what do you think makes it possible for Israel to carry out its policies and for the rest of us?
Right, man. Is there anybody? Oil prices here. This is something good,
to
something
end
different.
Years of financial turmoil.
Oh, gold-backed currency. You're not hearing that about that.
Gold, but will it help stabilise the economy? And hit by costly boycotts in the Middle East over the war on Gaza, McDonald's is now buying back all of its Israeli restaurants.
It confuses me. How can McDonald's buy back its own restaurants? I understand it's a franchise,
level
but...
in months, and central banks are keeping a close eye on the markets for the first time since...
Right, okie doke.
Stabilize the security of the region.
Oh, this guy's got a cool fucking crazy ass beard.
That their army is any stronger.
I care so much about the infidels that I do not look after my beard.
The Western media has continued to call the Iranian Ring of Fire. Has now come out that the Iranian people themselves can actually, use their own capabilities to attack the Zionist project. And at the moment, we have also had the Iranian army commander is very clear on the level of preparation that went into these retaliatory attacks, and also its legal backing within the United Nations Charter.
Okay.
And to even...
We're going to cross on over now and listen to General Bagheri, Chief of Staff for the Armed Forces of the Islamic Republic. If we can take a listen to him, or we're going to take a listen to perhaps General Salami again. Okay, we were anticipating a statement from General Bagheri, Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Islamic Republic. You're seeing some of the statements being made there by him. We want to obviously get that through him. Booker, hold on to your thoughts. I'd like to give some time to Charlotte Cates. Charlotte Cates, one of the things that stood out in terms of the breaking news that we've been running all day is that the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip said they had one of the calmest nights that they can remember. And I ask you, are we looking, hopefully, at a sign that this is going to continue for the Palestinians there that have been suffering so much?
People in Gaza were in many places actually able to have a few hours of rest from the unremitting bombing and drone strikes that since late October 7th and October 8th, the Zionist drone forces haven't left the sky. And what we saw tonight was that they did because they were forced to. And they were forced to because of the retaliation that was undertaken by the Islamic Republic of Iran. And it is obvious that, you know, Iran was exercising its natural right truly to defend itself, unlike the false claims that the Zionist regime has a right to defend itself against the people that it is subjecting to colonialism and occupation. Colonizers and occupiers do not have a right to defend themselves against the people that they are colonizing and occupying. Iran, as a sovereign nation, absolutely does have the right to defend itself, its citizens, its people, and its diplomatic facilities against these kinds of attacks. What we are seeing certainly is a step toward finally, you know, meaningful, true peace for all Palestinians, which is, you know, only going to come with the full defeat and dismantlement of the Zionist regime. And today's action was absolutely a step in that direction. And the more we have been seeing the failure of the so-called international community, the Western imperialist powers and their allies, for the past 6 months to defend the Palestinian people from genocide. What we have seen is the people of Yemen, of Lebanon, of Iraq, of Syria, and of Iran have consistently been standing together as the forces of resistance in the region and providing the only material counterweight that is pulling the Zionist forces away from their campaign of genocide in Gaza.
Booker, taking a look at the way that the U.S. is making statements when it comes to the counter-reaction by Iran, it's somewhat hazy. It's not. It says that we are going to continue with the ironclad support, but then and that's coming from the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. And then on the other hand, you have the U.S. President Joe Biden saying that we will not support Israel or the Israeli regime if they were to act militarily against Iran. What do you make of the statements there made by the U.S. when it comes to this operation that was executed, this counterattack?
Yeah, first of all, the Iranian administration was very clear that the United States should get out of the Iranian line of fire when they are doing these retaliatory attacks. And indeed, even though we can never trust the imperialist regime, they indeed say that they will not get into this line of fire. But I know the Iranian comrades are very much aware that the United States administration says this, but does the other way. They do not have any logical foreign policy other than the policy of interest and the policy of imperialist interest. But also, we must never forget that the Joe Biden administration is facing domestic pressure at home. Both there are, thousands of people in the streets of the United States putting pressure that Joe Biden administration should stop killing children in Gaza. And there is an election coming. So in terms of domestic policy, any escalation of war, the United States citizens do not like to have any war other than what the ruling class in the United States will want to have.
For the sake of Israel, I think they should follow the advice of Mr. Biden. And I think this would be for the peace and the stability in the region. Not.
I'm sorry, man, that was hard to listen to.
Much. It's only like light damage in one of the military bases.
I've been on Press TV, y'all, when I was doing Bilderberg. They interviewed us and it made the cut. Check it out on my channel. So Press TV, hire me, man. I'll do better sitting here in the UK with using OBS. But then I'll probably get investigated and be an Iranian agent for producing their news better than whoever they've got fucking dying it to do.
Retaliate according to the declaration from Ayatollah Khamenei and the leaders of Iran. At the same time, Israel was not damaged. So in this case, a win-win scenario. So if it doesn't escalate, I think it will be good for the region and for the both sides would be fine.
It's been obviously a very, very, very tense few hours. I think we do have some pictures from Tehran of some celebrations apparently that took place after this strike. I mean, those are the pictures there that we've had in from Tehran. Just how significant is it that Iran has struck Israel on its own territory for the first time?
It is, it's kind of propaganda thing. The Iranian regime tries to win their people because there is economic problems, there is pressure on Iran, there is like more sanctions on Iran because of the nuclear program in Iran. So Iran tries to win, maximize the win. But at the same time, it's unprecedented strike. So it didn't happen before. From Iran's soil to attack Israel is the first time to happen. So it might work as a deterrence, not for Israel to do like what they done in the diplomatic compound in Syria 2 weeks ago. So it might be work as a deterrence and might help to ease the tension between the two countries because Iran showed its ability to reach Israel from its soil and was not afraid to do that. So it shows it has the guts to defy American, to defy the Western allies, but at the same time the damage was limited. So it is like a middle way. They try to show their strengths because Israel tested the resolve after they killed their senior leaders in Damascus, and before there is many killing for some leader from the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. So in this case, the Iranian trying to show they are strong, but at the same time the damage was much. So Israel should, I think, according to the American advice, should like accept that and let it go in order to win in the diplomatic level. But it change and breaks the taboo. They cannot attack Israel directly. So that's from the propaganda media level, it's okay. But in reality, the damage was not there. So Israel was not affected much. You know, the schools were closed activities, but nothing much happened to Israel. But I think it will help to ease the tension, it will help ease the relationship between Iran and Israel. And they think about the military will not be, scenarios will not be the solution for the conflict between them. And this will help to use negotiation and diplomatic tracks in order to solve the situation in the Middle East, especially in Gaza and other areas in the Middle East.
Sayed Shahata there from BBC Arabic. Reuters again are reporting state television in Iran saying that they have sent a message to the United States via Switzerland warning that the US's bases would be targeted if Washington backs Israel's retaliation. So a further line coming to us of a warning from Iran to Israel and the US that they obviously do not want to see any further retaliation or escalation. They did put out a statement overnight saying, as far as they were concerned, that attack was concluded. Obviously, all eyes now are on Israel's response.
Of success, not even dropping a set at Flushing Meadow back in September 2021, which incidentally was my first week at GB News, actually, so I remember it very, very well. And so she goes on and she doesn't even drop a set, and what?
She's called a video meeting of G7 leaders today to discuss the Iranian attack early in the afternoon European time, and Italy holds the rotating G7 presidency. Well, obviously we've been getting as much reaction as we can to events overnight, and I spoke to Benjamin Rad, a senior fellow at the Berkel Centre for International Relations at UCLA. He gave us his take on whether Israel can be persuaded not to retaliate.
Well, in the conversation that President Biden had with Prime Minister Netanyahu, Biden pushed Netanyahu to accept the outcome of the last 12 hours as, quote, a win for Israel, meaning that Iran largely failed to succeed to materially impact Israel's security in any way. Very minimal destruction, casualties limited to that one incident that your correspondent mentioned. So if that is in fact the case, it's difficult to see how this was successful for Iran, and therefore the motivation to retaliate is really not there. So I believe that this will help stay the situation from inflaming any further, but of course that could change if Iran continues to
Right, somebody phone 911. Fucking, the Biden has slipped into a catatonic state. He literally can't move. He's frozen in it. Oh no, wait, it's a still picture. They can't afford to use video footage. It might show it. Is this the Worldwide Narcolepsy Society? Oh man, too fucking easy. And if you want to see that documentary, check my channel, man. It's the funniest documentary in the world. The meeting of the British Society and the Narcolepsy Society. They're all sitting on a table falling asleep. It's not even a joke or a sketch. It's funny as fake.
Launch any further attacks in the next few hours or days.
And obviously we're seeing, different lines coming out and a general call for calm. One report on Axios reporting it's not sourced, we can't confirm it, suggesting that President Biden is very much obviously not wanting Israel to move against Iran any further. Is it possible to read the signals, do you think, at the moment out of the White House in terms of their position on what they're doing?
Absolutely. I think Netanyahu firmly understands that if Israel chooses to take this further and respond to Iran directly by attacking Iranian installations, facilities, even if they are military and not civilian, that Israel does this alone without the endorsement and backing of the United States in that specific objective.
You think Biden will have been as clear as that?
Absolutely. All accounts indicate that Biden made it clear that that's his position and that Netanyahu firmly understood. And a similar conversation between the American Secretary of Defense and the Israeli Defense Minister indicated that that understanding was made clear to the Israelis as well, both by the defense ministers.
And is it clear what the Israeli position is?
At this moment, no, not necessarily. But for the moment, though, what Israel can enjoy is that it has received a lot of international support that had been waning and drifting away from its favor in the last few weeks, as criticism over its conduct of the war in Gaza had been mounting. So for now, Israel is enjoying a military victory in the sense that it managed to deflect and prevent any serious injuries or casualties from taking place, and also diplomatic support, not just from regional allies and allies like the United States, but we also see across Europe and the Arab world.
There's been a lot of focus on Hezbollah, and obviously we've seen the proxies acting as well overnight. What's your reading as to that situation? Could that still flare up?
Again, those proxies have been conducting their operations going back to November. Some of them even before then. We know Hezbollah has been active on the northern frontier for quite a while. The United States was successful in using its carrier groups and its assets in the region to intercept those attacks coming not just from Iran, but also from Lebanon, Yemen, Syria, and Iraq. So long as there is a coalition that is preventing this from escalating, I don't see it going any further yet.
It is unprecedented to have a direct strike from Iran into Israel. There is bound to be some political pressure on Mr. Netanyahu to respond in kind.
And that's what Biden specifically addressed when he told the prime minister. He said, look, Israel managed to come out of this relatively unscathed. Iran failed to accomplish any of its objectives. It created more support for Israel internationally than it had before today. And it also emboldened other Arab allies to, again, see Iran as a critical threat in the region, one that could escalate tensions rather than calm them down. So it's difficult to see how this is not a win for the Israeli Prime Minister and the Israeli government, and that would motivate Netanyahu to not want to escalate this any further.
Will the US, though?
That's the first strike I've seen hitting, the one up the top right on Press TV. Now try and bear with me because the audio is obviously coming from the BBC. I hope people are paying attention. That guy there doesn't sound like this guy. Oh, that would be a funny clip.
Something like that would pass both houses of the U.S. Congress if Netanyahu openly defied what the American president was asking to do and escalated further. So I do believe that if Netanyahu wants to rely on continued U.S. assistance in the form of additional or supplemental aid package, that he'd be wise to heed what President Biden is telling him.
We're getting lots of information and wires coming in. One report saying that the Israeli Defense Minister said we've repelled the first major wave of Iranian aerial attacks, but the confrontation is not yet over. Would you expect any Israeli action within the next few hours, or do you think it will be, further in future, whether they will come under pressure to pause before they take any further action?
In the next few hours, we can't expect Israeli responses in Lebanon, possibly Syria, and maybe even Yemen. It is very unlikely, given.
And that's the meaning of life. Well, boys and girls, we know who does definitely want war. The people that are selling these fucking weapons. The people that are selling the weapons don't have a political party. They don't have a country. They are multinational corporations with very rich, worldwide, jet-setting billionaires at the top. And that's reality.
Groups that they aren't going to continue to escalate the situation further. So Israel still finds itself in a defensive posture as it waits to see what could happen next from these other groups that are acting separate from Iran.
And again, Reuters reporting Benjamin Netanyahu said on X that we intercepted, we repelled, together we shall win. How much influence now do the other neighbouring nations in the region have on trying to de-escalate the situation, especially in terms of putting pressure on Israel?
Well, we see Iran finds itself somewhat isolated now diplomatically. We know that the Jordanian government assisted by essentially shooting down any drones that were flying through its airspace. There's indication that certain Arab states, unnamed, have supported the process here and the operation to prevent these drones and missiles from reaching their targeted destinations. So at this moment, Iran really finds itself isolated regionally from its Arab neighbors and potential allies. So it's difficult to see Iran having any better position and anything that it would gain by continuing to escalate any further.
Benjamin Rad there from UCLA. Just to let you know, Reuters is now reporting a bit more detail on the latest messages from Iran, saying that Iran warned Israel of a larger attack on its territory should it retaliate against Tehran's overnight drone and missile attack, adding Washington had been warned not to back Israeli military action. The Armed Forces Chief of Staff Major General Mohammed Bagheri told state television that our response will be much larger than tonight's military action if Israel retaliates against Iran. And he added that Tehran warned Washington any backing of Israeli retaliation will result in US bases being targeted. The commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Hossein Salami, also warned Tehran would retaliate against any Israeli attack on its interests, officials or citizens. And another line that has emerged, that Iran sent a message to the US via Switzerland, again warning against any further Israeli action. That is all coming out of the news agencies. Obviously, we are updating all our details as fast as we can, but we just wanted to bring you up to date. And I earlier spoke to retired US Marine Colonel and Military Analyst Affairs Brendan Kearney, who told me what he thinks the signals are being sent from Iran at the moment with this attack overnight.
You know, this is it's an extraordinarily complex situation that the Iranians have clearly sent a message that they don't want to be pushed around. And the message is primarily aimed at the Arab world, where they're very, very concerned that sometimes they appear to be marginalized in terms of how serious they are and what type of efforts they want to make against Israel. Likewise, when you look at what the Israelis are doing, they have carefully handled. Of course, they have probably one of the best integrated air defense systems in the world. They, along with some Jordanian participation and some yet to be defined American participation, have managed to minimize the damage of this attack. So there's a lot of symbolism, there's a lot of rhetoric, and the truth is probably going to come out over the next couple days as to exactly what has been accomplished by this today's effort, and hopefully the cooler heads that will prevail in the coming days.
What do we know at the moment about the sort of drones and missiles that were used in this attack?
Well, it looks like everything I've read in open source media seems to indicate that these are Iranian-made drones. A lot of it has to do with technology transfer that's come from North Korea, and possibly also from Russia, that the Iranians have jury-rigged themselves and have used effectively in Ukraine with some of the drone shipments they've made to the Russians. This is not the most sophisticated technology in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but a drone that somehow manages not to get shot down can still do an awful lot of damage. So this is, it'll be interesting again, as part of this entire question as to what's going on, as to what is possibly going to be the next wave, if there is a next wave of drone attacks or missile attacks against Israel by Iran.
Yeah, I mean, Iran have put out a statement, hadn't they? I think to the UN, saying that this, this attack was completed in their view. They obviously had, signalled to some degree that this was coming. There were a lot of warnings from the US that this was coming. Has this been quite carefully calibrated by Iran in some sense to show that they were responding to that Israeli attack, whilst not wanting to escalate things so much that things really have to definitely spiral?
Well, I think you used a great word there, and that's calibrated. I think the Iranians, they needed to respond. The Israelis, with the attack in Damascus, basically took the Iranians and shoved their head in the dirt. And good for the Israelis. They felt they had a justification for going after those senior leaders that ostensibly were also involved in the October 7th attacks in Israel. So Iran had to respond. They had to do something. And I think there was some probably calmer heads prevailing in Iran that decided as to what their target list was going to be. And we've seen this so far. What we don't know is if there's going to be subsequent waves of attacks. And that could very well cause a spiraling that I think the world is worried about. And a response that Israel would probably have to take if they felt this thing was disproportionate to what they had done to the Iranians.
Brendan Kearney there. Well, just let me update you with the latest line from Iran. It's being reported on Reuters that Iran has warned Israel and the US of any further action or retaliation to those overnight drone and missile attacks, with a warning from the Armed Forces Chief of Staff, Major General Mohammad Bagheri, telling Iranian state television that our response will be much larger than tonight's military action if Israel retaliates against Iran. Also, the commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, Hossein Salami, warning Tehran would retaliate against any Israeli attack on its interest officials or citizens. And what you're looking at there, of course, is the pictures and the sounds of the air raid sirens in Jerusalem, with the Israeli air defense system, the Iron Dome, in operation. Flashes in the sky in Jerusalem as those missiles and drones are shot down. This is above the skies of Jordan, with the Jordanians also involved in this defence operation. Also, there were flashes in the sky as missiles were struck down over Damascus in Syria. And this whole operation brought together the US, the UK, Jordan, possibly other Arab states too, in defence of the Israelis, shooting down 99%, the Israelis say, of around 300 drones and missiles. The question now is, of course, what is going to be the Israeli response as everyone calls for calm in the region? This is BBC News.
Hello there. You might remember that Friday had been the warmest day of the year. Temperatures reached 21.5 degrees Celsius in Greater London at both Northolt and also at St James's Park. But that figure didn't last very long. It was beaten on Saturday. We got temperatures up to 21.8 degrees Celsius at Writtle in Essex. That now is the highest temperature recorded so far this year. Got a big drop in temperatures on the way though across England and Wales, and in some places those temperatures will be dropping by around 7 degrees Celsius. You will notice the change as cooler air that we have had across Scotland and Northern Ireland works southwards. Now over the next few hours we've got a few showers around. They tend to become confined to northern and western areas of Scotland, otherwise the sky's clearing. It's going to be a cold start to Sunday morning with temperatures for quite a few places down at around 4 degrees Celsius. Might be chilly, but there will be plenty of early morning sunshine. Clear blue sunny skies in many cases, but there will be some coastal showers in western Scotland, and through the day showers become extensive. Scotland, Northern Ireland and a few getting into parts of western England and Wales. Some of the showers will be heavy with some hail mixed in, and those temperatures, yes, will be coming down. 15 degrees in London, 7 degrees lower than the temperatures we had on Saturday, but actually smack bang on average for this time of the year. Now for Monday, low pressure is going to be moving southwards and eastwards across the UK. It's going to be a day where we'll see a band of heavy rain move south and eastwards, followed by showers. It's a windy day with gusts of wind reaching around 40 or 50 miles an hour quite widely, but 60 in places. And those strong gusty winds will blow in frequent showers. Again, some of them will have hail mixed in. If anything, temperatures a little bit below average, but factor in the strength of the wind, well, I think it will start to feel a little on the chilly side. Tuesday and Wednesday, still see some showers or maybe a few longer spells of rain diving in from the northwest. Temperatures probably quite close to average really. So Tuesday a showery day, again some of the showers with hail, the heaviest downpours, the most frequent downpours for parts of Scotland, Northern Ireland and the far north of England. Temperatures around 11 to 13 degrees Celsius or so. And really we keep those rather showery weather conditions I think through Wednesday and Thursday. There's a trend to seeing something a bit drier as we get towards Friday and into the following weekend as well. Bye for now.
Welcome to breakfast.
Thanks for joining us.
Hello. You're going to have a great time.
Remember, Kev, you aren't getting any younger.
Sun up, I think, in about 10 minutes' time.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. You've been up there and looked down at us here. Right, let's go live to Westminster.
Today is going to be much colder than of late. We do want to hear your story.
It does smell good, actually. Arnold Schwarzenegger, thank you very much.
Start your day the BBC Breakfast way on BBC One and iPlayer.
His worst ever round at a major.
It's Sunday, the 14th of April. Sirens blared across Israel as the skies were lit up by the country's air defense system.
Skies lit up! Fuck's sake, we're just saying in the chat, man. The fucking illegal Chinese fireworks, which I'm not allowed to say in my own comment box, are better.
The stabbing attack that killed 6.
Can somebody tell Tommy Robinson this wasn't a jihad?
To try to deal with the shock and trauma that will come with what has occurred.
Coming up at 8:30, Trevor Phillips will get reaction to what's happening in the Middle East and the week's political headlines with the Health Secretary Victoria Atkins and the Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper.
And in sport, Manchester City thrashed Luton to go top of the Premier League, with both of their title rivals, Arsenal and Liverpool, playing late today.
Hello, very good morning, and thanks for joining us here on The Breakfast Show. Our top story this morning, Iran's barrage of drones and missiles launched towards Israel overnight. It's Iran's first direct attack on Israeli territory. Well, while Iran says the attack has concluded, Israel remains on high alert. Israel's air defense systems brought down the vast majority of any incoming threat, and no one was killed. It was an unprecedented attack and retaliation for a suspected Israeli strike in Syria that killed 2 Iranian generals. Our Middle East correspondent Alistair Bunkle begins our coverage.
The Iranian drones arrived in Israeli airspace just before 2 a.m. in the morning. The holy city was under attack, and the skies above alight.
Oh my God, man.
Air defense system.
I cannot listen to that, right? The holy city was under attack. Man, honestly, like, some of the schemes up in Cumbernauld were under more attack during fireworks night when we were younger. The fucking daftness, the absolute daftness, the stupid shit we used to do with fireworks, man. Whew. I can see why they pushed to get them fucking banned. But this seems like fuck all. Hopefully this guy's voice is away.
Dozens of unmanned aircraft were intercepted outside the borders of the state of Israel, with the total number of threats launched was over 200. The IDF does and will do...
Yo, mate, do you know that like one ear's bigger than like almost twice the size as the other? Did your mom lead you about when you were younger with your right ear? Is that why it's sticking out that wee bit? It's like a teapot, isn't he?
Do everything that is required to protect the security of the citizens of the state of Israel.
Airspace was closed over.
Oh, teapot he'd listen to this guy, man. This guy's voice.
Jordan and Iraq. Flights in the air headed for Tel Aviv.
Flights in the air. I don't think he puts on that kind of accent when he's like, Tel Aviv under attack. Gaza on a good day. Where the fuck was it? What was it when I was in Sky News? Tel Aviv under attack. Gaza on a good day. Gaza on Israel under attack. Small number of hits identified in Iranian attack. Small number. Iran. But for how long now? Couple of decades, easy peasy. Anyway, let's hopefully this guy's voice is away. I can't listen to this guy's voice.
They might be satisfied by.
No, I'm sorry, man. I have an aversion to his voice, and just his voice in particular. It's a personal thing. I don't know why his voice hurts my. I think it's because it sounds like he's holding his nose.
Now, so Alistair, an unprecedented attack by Iran directly on Israeli soil. The big question now is what Israel will do next.
I do know what it is.
Yeah, it is. Iran, from its point of view, as I mentioned in my report, is, it's working on the basis that they have now retaliated to that attack that happened in Damascus on the 1st of April, and in their words, that retaliation is concluded.
I'll give you. This is me standing in for this talking prickhead of MI6. Okay, Israel can defend itself. What Iran had done was an attack. Israel can defend itself, and what Iran done was an attack. Israel can defend itself, and that concludes it from me, who can't breathe through my fucking nose because it's so full at MI6.com.
I think it's verbatim.
As being escalatory.
Oh no, he's using fancy words. Escalatory.
They've had differences with over recent weeks because of what's been going on in Gaza, but an ally that stuck with them last night and helped.
I'm going to go into a dark room and get a torch and make some of my own videos of the sky over Israel during the Iranian attack. How easy would that be? You just need a lighter in a dark room. Boom shakalaka, you have like fucking missile attacks? Or drone attacks? Or both? Right, I can't listen to him. Cannot listen to him. Oh, she's even funnier to listen to.
Quote in a moment or two, but I want to just briefly In terms of the damage,
Listen to
Israeli
her voice,
military
man.
says
Spook
that
Central.
one girl, a 10-year-old girl, was injured, and they hope she will recover. And that light damage
Please,
was
answers on a
caused
postcard.
to an air
Where
base
is
in
her
southern
accent
Israel.
from?
We're still waiting for details of that. Now, this morning, after these overnight attacks, these unprecedented overnight attacks,
30,000 indeed. Over 30,000 indeed.
Israel from Iranian territory. More is continuing with Iran.
Fuck it. Fuck it. Who gives a shit?
The United States.
Ripping my tights. Fucking man up. It happens in war.
Have also.
To get over it, man. This is just warfare, man. It's warfare, man. Some bad shit happened, and this is the outcome. Get her up in my tights. Here's a bad-faced lady with the undistinct spook accent. Yep, she's admitting that she's bad-faced lady and she's got a spook accent.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. Yes, Daniel Hagari will listen to that.
She would make a good mistress, wouldn't she, man?
But I want to just
briefly imagine her fucking
the major international reaction.
Yeah, in a Nazi uniform
rushed
with
the
a whip.
Situation Room in Washington to keep across developments. The White House published a photo from the Situation Room on X.
There's the corpse! 911! There's a fucking corpse in the White House, man. He's no moving. I don't know if he's alive. Please say... Oh, no, it's just Biden. It's just Biden.
Well, President Biden has spoken over the phone with the Israeli PM, Benjamin Netanyahu, to say he condemns the attacks in the strongest possible terms. Well, in a statement, President Biden said,
in the strongest possible terms. See, if I was to condemn attacks out in the strongest possible... Like, these are fucking assholes, man. Fucking wankers. Let's take them out now. Let's fucking do some damage. That's the strongest possible terms. No going, hey, what? I condemn. Sounds like Russell Brand fucking having a meltdown after just fucking injecting a thesaurus.
To reaffirm America's ironclad commitment to the security of Israel. I told him that Israel demonstrated a remarkable capacity to defend against and defeat even unprecedented attacks, sending a clear message to its foes that they cannot effectively threaten the security of Israel.
All right, Roberto, in the morning to you,
I will convene my fellow G7 leaders to coordinate a united diplomatic response to Iran's brazen attack.
Brazen attack.
Well, the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, was also quick to...
So again, just get the context here. Right, so Israel is defending itself and Iran is attacking. Right, get that inside your nut. How the fuck can this... No, well, she's a talking head. She gets paid money to say what's in front of her, right? So it's nothing to do with her. People can direct the energy that's built up by listening to this piss at their own people. It's the editorial stance that the BBC's taking, and whoever's got a gun to their head of the editor has to take this stance whether they like it or loathe it. So they're getting. Let's be honest. This kind of shit, the BBC and editor have nothing to do with it. This is all MI6 marketing, and they're getting told Israel's defending itself. Stick to that. But let's not go back in history as opposed to when Israel didn't exist and how they became to exist, because like if they brought themselves around into existence by defending themselves. Is that laughable? And now, all these years later, even though they're illegally occupying, breaking all sorts of accepted international laws, they're bouncing about going, we're defending ourselves. I mean, if you keep an animal caged and they bite you back, is that animal attacking you or defending itself or reacting to being getting caged up? Getting ripped away from its fucking land and stuck in a cage. I mean, you're shit, you're scum, you're lesser than us. And again, let's see if we can get lovely pictures. Gaza, on a good day. If we get any morning pictures of Israel going around right now. Not just the picture of the corpse. See, every fucking news hole, fucking, like, at least Talk TV get a bit of tits and fanny, man. Right? Although she's getting to that stage now where it's like, right, hinges grow gracefully. You're getting a wee bit Joker-esque. Right, well, there we could go. Like, there's Israel. Is that Tel Aviv or something? Who knows? It's a war live. Anything can happen. It's great stuff. And there's Gaza. What's the difference? Is there a difference? Is it all the same? Who knows? We're listening to the dominatrix.
Release a statement overnight. It said this: I condemn in the strongest terms the Iranian regime's reckless attack against Israel. He said in the statement, these strikes risk inflaming tensions and destabilizing the region. Iran has once again demonstrated that it is intent on sowing chaos in its own backyard.
This guy is on a different planet. Oh wait, he's a fucking Romulan. He is on a different fucking planet. Right, so what the fuck did the guy say to Israel about them rattling the consulate, Iranian territory inside Syria? Anything? I mean, they violated two countries' sovereignty. Two countries, said both Syrian and Iranian sovereignty. Easy for me to say this time when I'm sitting morning. And somehow this Romulan motherfucker, and like I understand he doesn't believe that, he just has to say that. It's like a Hoover salesman standing up in front of you and going, my Hoover's really pissed, to be honest. You know, you don't get that. They tell you it's the best ever all the time. And that's what the Prime Minister's job is.
The UK will continue to stand up for Israel's security and that of all our regional partners, including Jordan and Iraq. Alongside our allies, we are urgently working to stabilise the situation and prevent further escalation. No one wants to see more bloodshed.
Roberto, we'll see you saying Scud rocket launchers and rusty AK-47s. It just reminds me of a I'm pretty sure it's a Glaswegian saying, and you used to call people a scud bucket. And I don't know how far this goes, because you're like old porno mags back in the day before you fucking videos, DVDs and computers were everywhere. They used to be known as scud books. I don't know why. I actually don't know why. But, you're in the scud books. I don't know, it's a term up here. And you used to call people an insult. Like, you're a fucking scud bucket. Oh, thanks for that, mate. It just brings back colourful language. Oh, here's Bag Lady.
Yes, many across the region
Name that accent.
Closely at exactly what kind of retaliation Iran has carried out. There was so much discussion in the run-up to the Iranian strike, which was telegraphed by the United States, with Joe Biden days ago saying that an attack was imminent and then saying it would happen sooner rather than later. And then there was the unnamed military sources in the US speaking about the kind of attack that indeed did unfold in the early hours of the morning. 300
Ireland sending
Scud
rocket launchers,
including ballistic missiles.
Here, hold on, DJ, man. You're going to fucking hurt some Irish fucking fellas' fucking feelings with that fucking kind of talk, man. It's way too soon to joke about the fucking totty picking munchers fucking potato fan. And you know, we all know historically Irish people do not have fucking senses of humour. You know, they're famous for it, aren't they? The Irish are famous for not having a sense of humour, or especially being able to fucking laugh about themselves, you know. But I do think it's too soon to joke about the potato munching bastards fucking potato famine, mate. Way too soon.
Iran has cast this as a limited, carefully calibrated strike. It caused limited damage. But here in Israel and amongst its allies, they're now looking
Does anybody
at
get
strike.
any
Even though
idea
the
what
US
her accent
and
is?
the UK are urging restraint. Israel says it is now looking at its options. Well, let's look in more detail. We can join our security correspondent, Frank Gardner. Frank, just give us a bit more detail.
Oh, it's the fucking MI6 gimp. I kid you not, when I used to do the BBC Benewsment, I used to look into all the talking heads, and this guy used to be British intelligence, then he got a injury in the field, so he's now a kind of gimp, as I call him. And now he works for the BBC, so he's ex-MI6, now working for the BBC as a security correspondent. Nothing to see here, he's an independent journalist. It's just like what my mum would call him, right? He's got that fucking face of the English fucking inbred aristocracy. My mum would call him a chinless wonder. Look, the kind of like they've got the look of a goldfish about them, you know, because they get nae fucking chin.
Deployed in this first retaliatory strike against Israeli territory.
Okay, so according to the Israeli military, the IDF, Iran launched 170 drones, which were all intercepted, and around 120
security
missiles,
correspondent. Go stick Frank Gardner, stick his name into your Google.
Invested heavily, despite all the years of sanctions on it. It's managed to build up a significant force of ballistic missiles, but Israel's intelligence will know exactly where those were launched from. So I would expect that Israel's response, when it comes, will almost certainly be starting at hitting those bases from which the missiles were launched. Israel didn't intercept all of these on its own. Some of them were intercepted over Jordanian airspace, some, I think, over Syria and Iraq, because some of the missiles and drones took circuitous routes. It's 1,500 kilometers between the two countries, between Iran and Israel. The way I would categorize this, that I would, I suppose, depict at least, is that I think we are on the middle rung.
I'm sorry to big myself up, man, but like people do need to do their due diligence, right, and just read between the lines. He's the son of a diplomat. But both were diplomats, right? Spooks. They were in The Hague. They were in the British Embassy in Czechoslovakia. That was an ex-Soviet state, if you don't know that. It came into the fold. And it no longer exists, actually. His father was expelled from the country for espionage activities. That was a spook as well, after an incident in a prohibited military area where he was shot at. His grandfather was a physician, doctor, educated at St. Ron's School. I could even go and look at that, but I can't be arsed. Pushed by his teachers into taking up biathlon. I'm not sure what the fuck that is. Come on, Wikipedia, do my work for me. Alright, that kind of weird shit. Alright, no wonder he was he was the hoity-toity of the upper middle class of England. He met the Arabian explorer Wilfred Thesiger, and was invited to explore his home in Chelsea. Partly as a result, reason, blah blah blah. Oh, there we go, right. Well, so, I don't know, then he was a spook in the making, and then he went and done his military service. Royal Green Jacket, second lieutenant. Where does it tell you where he... He had a 9-year career as an investment wanker as well. Oh, wow, wee man. Now, why is it not telling you about how you get gimped up? Let's see if it tells you here in this journalist bit. There's the direct fucking... Like, so... Son of a diplomat, worked in the banking... was in the army for a bit, Robert Fleming Bank, good Scottish bank, man. Anyway, that's who we're dealing with here. Just a normal dude on the BBC. I know it's not showing you there, but I can't. I'm not going to go searching for it just now. But he got injured on duty and had to apparently retire.
Of an escalatory ladder. So, you know, there's been this simmering conflict between Iran and Israel really ever since the Islamic Revolution back in 1979. But the big events that have really heated this up and pushed things to the state that they're in now is the October the 7th attack by Iran-backed Hamas.
Not the endless illegal occupations, the endless fucking open air, free range prison camp that Gaza is. Nah, none of that, you know. And again, like you cage up an animal. If that animal can get out, it'll going to fucking bite you. Because you're its jailer. It's fucking, look at this chinless fucking wonder. I mean, if you were to get him in a boxing match, you wouldn't know where to punch him. Your fucking fist would just slide off. Featureless fucking inbred Middle England looking prick. Sorry, man. Twirling. It's a fucking Rangers Day as well.
On Israel. Then the Gaza war, of course, but specifically Israel's attack, as you mentioned, on April the 1st. Although Israel didn't claim responsibility for it, everybody knows it was Israel that hit the Iranian consulate in Damascus, killing senior commanders. That was considered by Iran to be a major escalation because it was an attack on Iranian territory, even though it was in Damascus. It was diplomatic territory.
Fucking hell, how pathetic is
the last 13 days with its security establishment mulling over what their calibrated response would be. The problem is that we are in a tit-for-tat situation now, and Israel's response, I fear, will escalate things further.
Yes! Nothing like fear! Huh! Yeah! What is it good for? Escalating bullshit. Sing it again! Yeah! Fear! Huh! Yeah! What is it good for? Escalating everything. Sing it again!
To reach the Israeli skies, if they reach them at all. So Iran would have known, they may have planned that the damage, the impact on the ground would be limited. Is that part of how they would see this carefully calibrated response?
It sounds like a cartoon character of like a Scandinavian. Schmurgen, Bergen, Hergen, Gergen.
There is more that Iran could have done. It didn't aim, it seems that it was aiming at primarily military targets. One of the casualties is a 7-year-old Bedouin girl in the south of Israel. It was certainly aiming these at the Nevatim air base in the Negev in the south of Israel. There is more that it could do. And of course, Iran, don't forget that the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps, has a thing called the Quds Force, which is its external operations wing. It's they do black ops. And Iran in the past has struck
kind of like our MI6
targets outside the region. So this isn't over. Iran has said, that's it, you know, the account is settled for now. And that's not the way Israel looks
the
at it.
account is
so
settled.
Israel will retaliate, and then Iran has threatened a response to that retaliation. So, as I say, we're on this middle rung of an escalatory ladder.
And beyond this tit-for-tat that we're seeing unfolding now, and could unfold further, there is the broader issue, isn't there, Frank, of deterrence. That Iran wants to send a clear signal, Israel wants to send a clear signal, that they are able and willing to inflict significant cost, so the other side should not try to attack them again.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of pride involved here. On both sides. Israel, with some justification, feels very proud of its air defenses, its IDF. And of course, let's not forget that against the background of all of this, you've got the Gaza conflict going on with over 33,000 people killed, mostly civilians. That had galvanized much of the region into a huge sense of disapproval of Israel. But many of the countries in the region, as you of course know, Lise, are no friends of Iran. So you've got the monarchies, all the Gulf state monarchies are quite wary of Iran. I mean, Saudi Arabia only ended its own simmering conflict with Iran's proxies in March last year. So Jordan, for example, has helped shoot down some of these missiles. Jordan is finds itself kind of caught in a very difficult area. Iraq, although Iraq is seen by some as a bit of an Iranian proxy these days, nevertheless, Iraq will be deeply unhappy at this escalation. None of this, of course, is good for business, none of it's good for economies, none of it's good for foreign investment. So the entire region will be holding its breath now, just hoping that Israel's response, if and when it comes to Iran, is going to be calibrated to the extent that it doesn't take this further. What do we mean by that? Well, all 6 Gulf Arab states are host to US bases. And at the moment, the US is not involved other than shooting down the drones. And the US has said, we're not going to take part in any Israeli response. But if Iran chose to attack those US bases, that would bring in the Gulf states. There would be the risk to things like desalination plants, oil and petrochemical processing. You know, you'd be looking at a huge, great big Middle East war, which is exactly the escalation everyone feared ever since October the 7th.
Frank, as always, thank you for bringing in your wisdom and insights, both on the security and also the political front. I'm sure we'll be speaking to you again today. As Frank has underlined, some countries, most of all the United States, the United Kingdom, and Jordan, neighboring Jordan, a very close ally, very dependent on the United States, has also been involved in intercepting the missiles and drones crossing its territory and heading, in this case, for Jerusalem. Let's go to the Ministry of Defence in London. We can join our defence correspondent, Peter Saul. Peter, there has been a very strongly worded statement by Rishi Sunak. We understand that Royal Air Force jets were in the skies. Can you confirm exactly what role they played in the operations last night to intercept these projectiles fired from Iran?
It's not entirely clear, to be honest. What we've been told by the Ministry of Defence is that these are jets that are involved in what's called Operation Shader, which is the UK's counter-operation, which has been going on for some years, actually, against the Islamic State group in Iraq and Syria. So they've been flying over the skies. Remember, if you think about the geography of the Middle East, Iraq and Syria between Iran and Israel, so those missiles presumably would have flown through Iraqi and Syrian airspace. And the British RAF planes there have been given authorization to take down those missiles. We don't know how many, if any, they have actually taken down last night, but a clear indication, I guess, from the Ministry of Defence that the UK is prepared to get involved in this. The statement that we've had from the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak condemns in the strongest possible terms the attack from Iran. It also talks about the need to stand still.
Iran's leaders signal they've made their point, but they will strike back if Israel retaliates. Israel's allies urge caution, but the next step is down to Mr. Netanyahu's war cabinet. They meet today. We'll get political reaction from Health Secretary Victoria Atkins and Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, with live updates all morning from our correspondents around the world. Welcome to Sunday Morning with Trevor Phillips. There is, of course, just one main story for us today: the Iranian attack on Israel, launched in retaliation for the destruction of its consulate in Damascus. Right now, the skies over Tel Aviv are clear, but this episode is far.
So it's launched in retaliation. Its attack on Israel has been launched in retaliation for its destruction of its consulate, whereas Israel's just defending itself.
From over. The G7 and the UN Security Council meet today. But in truth, the next move is in the hands of Israel's war cabinet. To use the appropriate biblical metaphor, they have a choice. Turn the other cheek or an eye for an eye. Let's get the latest from our team in the region, and I'm lucky enough to have
we
in
all
the
know
studio,
where the world's
through the show
opinion
today,
is now.
our international
Everybody's
affairs
going to the
editor,
Old
Dominic
Testament,
Waghorn.
isn't he?
Dominic,
It's fucking
what do we know about what's happening right now?
Well, Trevor, after an extremely worrying night, I think the onus now is on diplomats to try and calm things down. And for weeks since Israel's attack on the embassy, the Iranian embassy in Damascus, flattening the consulate building there, killing more than a dozen Iranians, including a number of senior commanders, the West has been saying to Israel and to Iran, do not let this escalate into something much bigger. So have been urging restraint on the Iranians. The Iranians did not listen to that, and now the Iranians have retaliated with extraordinary force. The first direct attack on Israel. We've seen a shadow war between Israel and Iran for years, but this is the first direct attack by Iran on Israel. That was clearly a sign the Iranians were not going to listen to those calls for restraint. I think the pressure now is on Israel to show restraint. And so Western diplomats will be saying to the Israelis that we've got your back diplomatically, and they'll be saying you don't need to take this further. Now, the Iranians have made it clear, or they at least publicly have said, they deem this affair concluded. The Israelis are sceptical about that. They say there could be more to come. I think the question for the West is if the West was attacked by 350 drones, missiles, ballistic missiles, would they think that it was now over in terms of would you just hand it over to diplomats to punish Iran, or would you feel that you had to retaliate? Will Israel feel it has to retaliate? Does it have to strike back now? It's kind of a question of who has the last word here. But as you say, it's down to the Israeli war cabinet. Will they be reassured by the diplomatic activity, or feel they have to do something now in return for what Iran has done overnight?
Well, let's get a sense of the mood in Israel now from our colleague Alistair Bunkle. Good morning, Ali. What's the situation there? Is the action for the moment over?
I mean, right now, as we speak on Sunday morning, yeah, the action is over after what was a very
not that
tense,
fucking
busy...
guy's voice again, man. Fuck's sake, Sky fucking News. What the fuck are you doing? Get a new Oh. Let's see what the Allah Akbar channel is saying.
I think what every other displaced Palestinian thinks. I believe God will make all resistant fighters victorious and make their steps firm with unseen hope. Even though there have been many martyrs, we thank God and stand ready to give more lives. We are a resilient nation and will continue resisting till the end of time. A martyrdom has become a norm for our children, and we support the resistance. To anyone who can fight back, I say never surrender. And to those...
Wee Jimmy, what do you want to be when you're older? I want to martyr for my family. I want to be a martyr. The magic man in the sky, the magic books tell me I had to go and die in the name of... I'll get to fuck you, you fucking plum. Right. Hold on, I can do a wee bit of Sanj.
On the street, who would, in a yellow dress, who would frequently go to collect candy and so on from US troops. One day a tank goes past, and for an inexplicable reason, a shooter comes out of the US tank and blows her away. There are just so many of these instances.
That needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinions.
You know, like a disgraced MP or some shit.
Exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country.
Hen, you should get a nose job.
News, the People's Channel, Britain's news.
What people? Use that that's cunt. It's like a fucking light bulb.
Each nation, the show
Please,
the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs.
Like, honestly, I'm not the only fucking guy that can see these slimy looking fucking pompous twats. I just can't bring myself to like
Your
them.
weekend starts here with Friday Night Live with me, Mark Dolan, 8 till 9.
Your weekend starts here. Look at me, really put me. Look, can I smile any harder? If I try to smile any harder, I'm going to sound like Jim Shite.
Fridays 8 till 9 on GB News. Bring your own drinks. The admission's free.
No, it's not. We have to put up your wee whiny ass English. Ah, fuck for pillow. Doesn't get any better. The big fucking uber conservative poof man.
On Sundays on GB News with me.
I do like his train track fucking TV shows. They're interesting. But his politics and his big gay demeanour allows him to get away with it. He's the uber gay in the Conservative Party.
With editor of Spiked Online, Tom Slater.
Right, now look at that. You've got him. Look at that.
Good to see you.
Come on, it's fuck, man. Can you just not tell by the cut of these people's jibs and that people consider that a news channel? I mean, look at the. Seriously. Maybe up in Finiston you might see a wee dick like that and a boozer. But where else? Anyway, let's see if Sky News is. I wanted to listen to Sky News away for that cunt with no nose.
For the region, the most dangerous moment. If there are further attacks coming from Iran, that could obviously lead to escalation, but also Israel, if it retaliates in any number of ways, could lead this into a deeper and more worrying escalation. I mean, Iran's air defences are no match for Israel, so it will be tempting for the Israelis to launch strikes in retaliation for what's happened overnight. And if they strike something and kill a number of Iranians, the Iranians will need to respond. They've already said that if Israel does retaliate, they will retaliate much stronger than they did last night. So it's
let's call it a draw. Let's call it a draw. Put our dicks away
to calm down
and stop killing each other, because otherwise it's not going to stop. It's kind of like gang warfare, isn't it?
Like this unprecedented
missile attack.
Okay, we'll talk
you
further.
Shit on my
but as we've
kid's
been
grave.
Saying, Prime
I need to
Minister
shit on your
Rishi
kid's
Sunak
grave.
condemned the Iranian attack, and he said that the UK will continue to stand up for Israel's security and that of all our regional partners. The UK's military was reportedly involved in supporting the defence of Israel overnight. So
mate,
let's get the latest from the UK government this morning. A little earlier, I spoke to the Health Secretary, Victoria Atkins.
Oh, Sargon does seem like a big poofy bastard, mate. He does seem like a big poofy bastard.
In the Middle East.
Pure artistic pseudo-intellectual gay gimp.
Iran on Israel. It is
a good title for him.
A huge relief to everyone.
Sargon of Mossad, the pseudo-intellectual gay gimp. You well see him fucking in leather with a boat of poppers fucking getting done, can't you? I'm pretty sure I might have seen the movie.
And more details will emerge.
But that was Pornhub,
we
YouTube.
want to ensure now that this does not escalate. And so our message to everyone is that we have to contain this. We have to work with Israel to ensure that they are supported, but to do so in a way that helps to de-escalate tensions in the region, because this is not what any of us wanted.
We'll come to the issue of de-escalation, but just dealing with last night.
What can you mean?
What can you tell
DJ?
us about?
Oh, I've never heard of such a thing as a soggy biscuit game.
I'm sorry, I'm going to be saying this rather a lot today. This is a live operation or live military situation, so I am constrained.
Right, well, can somebody please tell this bitch it's live, man, because it sounds like they've just dug her up fucking 5 minutes ago.
As to the details that I can provide.
Come on, hen, this is Sky News. Fucking Rupert Murdoch, man, where's a wee bit of fucking tit? Where's a wee bit of leg? Where's the sex appeal, man? This is boring as fuck. The fireworks were shite, and now the fucking, the poontang is a letdown too.
At this moment in time, but British jets, UK jets, were sent to the region as part of what's called Operation Shader, which is an anti-Daesh initiative. What that means is basically bolstering our resources in the region.
Hold on, I'm just going to my cupboard. That's me opening my cupboard. It's me getting out some cough sweeties for this poor woman, man. Sounds like she's been fucking getting ragdolled all night long, man, and she's been screaming at the top of her lungs. Oh, Mr. Chang, give me some more. He's not compromised. Somebody help, I can get honey and lemon on set. honey and lemon on set, please, as the woman's voice is about to pack up, and she already looks like a dude wearing a wig.
That happened overnight, but I can't go into further details, I'm afraid, as to what those...
I want the details, man. Why are you so horse hen? What were you doing on a Saturday night?
Jets did overnight.
But broadly speaking, it's this has been an...
was that all the screaming and bawling, or was it all the deep throating?
An operation which involved us, the Americans, the Jordanians, dealing both with Iran, but also the terrorist threats that infest the region.
Well, we have, of course, have already, over several months now, worked with our international partners to tackle the attacks by Houthi rebels.
I'm no joking. Do you get those people you listen to and you actually like they make you want to cough? You're like, yeah, and you actually do it like kind of like deliberately in front of them, like just fucking cough. You get lots of presenters like that, and I don't know whether it's because they think that kind of husky voice resonates with people, but it makes me just feel like I need to cough, man. It makes me want. In fact, I'm going to fucking have a vape and see if I can make myself cough to feel better.
In the Red Sea, but apart from that, obviously, we also have...
Somebody grab her, get a doctor in, get in the doctor, grab her with the boys and ask her to cough, please.
We do not want this to go any further because we can all see the human cost to this.
Black Ops.
A miscalculation or an escalation.
Mate, that must have been some night, man.
That will take its toll on.
Okay, one more thing to it. The answer to this may be completely obvious, but what is the official advice now to British travellers and indeed Britons in the region?
That's really important. So anyone who is in the region, please look at the FCDO website. That advice
What's the
is kept up to
FCDO?
date
So is that like the
and
YMCA?
and you'll appreciate there are different pieces of advice for different parts of the region. But in terms of travel to the region, again, please look at the FCDO website. We've been quite clear for a while now as to which areas it is not safe to travel to. And so I'd really urge people to have the most up-to-date information.
That advice is being reviewed, and do you expect it to
Remember,
change?
folks, this is 2024, not 1984. It's 2000. I'll try and say that properly. It's 2024, 1984's sequel. We've never been at war with Eurasia. Never been at war with Eurasia. Now, let's get back to what we call.
All right, but there will be a call amongst G7 leaders, the 7 most powerful nations. There will be a meeting of the UN Security Council.
It's He-Man now.
The
Skeletor make it into the G7
of the Israeli War Cabinet, isn't it? What are we saying to Israel?
Well, the Prime Minister held a Cobra meeting on Friday.
Keep it going, man. The more muzzies on a slab, the better.
Has had calls
Good boys. Good boys.
There is planned to be a G7 leaders call later today, and updates will emerge from that. But we continue to work. And
you want some treats? Want some grenades?
Efforts, but again, the message across the region and with our partners is that we must not escalate this. We must contain this.
Come on, hen, man. That
just
voice
take
is
time
good.
to look at what has happened over the last 12
I'm severely
hours.
having getting triggered with fucking audio fucking shit
to see
with her
what
voice.
More can and should be done, but we do not want to escalate this situation.
You can take some cough drops, hen. Manuka honey
the
in that bad boy.
Iranians are clear that this action is a retaliation for the Israeli attack on their consulate in Damascus.
No shit, Sherlock, man. You this guy gold star.
Tell us this. Did the Israelis...
I done, Baldy. I fucking knew that. I don't work for Sky News. Did I get a gold star? Fucking Einstein.
Before they did that?
I'm not privy to any such conversations if they happened. I hope you'll appreciate that. This is it's a defence matter as well as a national security matter, and so you'll appreciate the circle of knowledge on this is very, very small. But in terms of our relationship with Israel, we have been very consistent in our support for Israel to defend herself after the appalling attacks in October last year. But we have also joined with international partners in saying, actually, the best thing for Israel and for the region is for there to be an immediate humanitarian pause so that we can get hostages out. There are still people being held captive. Get the hostages out, get humanitarian aid into Gaza as quickly as possible, and then we must, if the future of Palestine rests on, we believe Hamas no longer being in charge of the government, and so there will need to be a change of leadership, and for then the two-state solution to be looked at in the longer term.
But the reason I ask you that is that, as you said, we are a staunch ally to Israel. And sometimes your best friends are the people who have to tell you that you're about to make an error. Now, I'm not making a judgment about this, but it is puzzling. Right now, we don't even actually know officially whether the attack on Damascus was an Israeli attack, but most people think that, and the Israelis have not denied it. I wonder what we think the Israelis imagined they were doing and what we have had to say about it, because the Israelis are not unsophisticated, they're extremely smart, they're experienced. They must have known that this would be the outcome. So what do we imagine the reason for the attack on Damascus was?
Well, I hope you'll appreciate I'm very cautious about daring to speculate as to what other international leaders may have been considering when it comes to such delicate matters. But what we do, we are very, very conscious of the fact, as I say, that Israel had this horrendous attack deployed against it in October. People in Israel are suffering. People in Gaza are suffering as well. I think we all acknowledge that there has been a great deal of humanitarian loss and cost to this, and this is why we want this immediate humanitarian pause. But in terms of the future, the Prime Minister will work with other international leaders. We, of course, will also have, there will be many, many conversations ongoing at the moment between our allies, between our international partners, to try to contain this.
The Iranians have been pretty clear this morning that if there is an Israeli retaliation, they are going to come back in kind and more. They've been pretty clear about that. Where are we on this? If the Israelis say we have got to respond because all the reasons that we know before, will we support them?
Again, I hope you'll appreciate, we are having to take this a step at a time because it's a live operation. I can't, with the best will in the world, provide a running commentary on what may happen. We have to take it methodically a step at a time. And there are so many other actors in this on the international stage, of course.
It looks as though you will get your Rwanda bill through this week. When can we expect to see flights taking off?
We want them to take off as quickly as possible, and so...
The days, weeks, months?
We are
we need to get our cameras ready.
Certainly within weeks. We very much plan to have it within weeks. And what this is about is deterring not just the criminal gangs, but also the message to people further down the line that the UK is not here to be entered illegally, if you like.
Okay, no, that's helpful, actually. It's clearest. Do you have a carrier yet? I mean, the Rwandan air company said it wouldn't carry these people. Who's going to take them?
The Home Office is working on this, and so, believe you me, the Home Office is ready to go.
They haven't got one, have they?
Piece of legislation.
They haven't got anybody to take them, have they?
Well, we want to get this piece of legislation through. Yeah, we have seen some real progress in the last year with the reduction in small boat crossings by a third, which is contrary, actually, to the trend we've seen across the European continent. But this is one part of our overall plan to cut illegal migration.
All right. I want to be fair, because there's something that you have to say about today. The smoking legislation, which is going to be passed, I think, this week, will ensure that nobody who is currently under 14 will ever be able to buy fags, right?
Yes, so the plan is that anyone aged 14 at the moment will never be able to buy cigarettes from a shop, and we're beginning the debate this week. The arcane traditions of the House means I won't be able to pass it, sadly, on Tuesday, but we've got more to do.
Is this a new kind of conservatism? Is this bossy Toryism?
I don't think it is.
Why not let people decide whether they want to smoke or not?
No.
I've never smoked myself.
No. So to me, this is absolutely about the Conservative principle of looking after and protecting future generations. And just as we as Conservatives are fiscally responsible, we do not want to hand on debt repayments that we have built up through the pandemic to future generations, which is why, as well as managing the economy, Jeremy and
Netanyahu will feel that he's backed into a corner in some circumstances in the next few days, may feel that he has to retaliate again, and then so it goes on, and that is the big fear.
Daisy, what's your estimation of
where is the working class people? Seriously, look at all these hoity-toity Middle English. I've only spent $500,000 on my plastic surgery, chinless fucking wonders.
A bit of a strategic error on Iran's behalf, because, of course, last week Israel was looking increasingly
England has a lot to answer for, man. The middle class that they've created. You should either be scum.
Both from London, from Washington, to de-escalate the war in Gaza, and now everybody's as
you can tell by the cut of that jib, that guy's ex-military or some shit.
Could this have been a
Him on the
mistake by
left.
Iran? I think
that
also,
guy on the right, some
Netanyahu's
left-wing
domestic
fucking
situation might be bolstered by this. He's been getting
you can see them like picking the fucking
criticism
caricatures for this
from
shit.
Israelis.
She's
wanting to
obviously
see
a bit of
a change from Netanyahu, but given that this last night went
that
relatively
loves
well
killing
for
people.
Israel, as in very
But it's not
limited
right. She's got a
casualties,
vagina, man. It doesn't
bolstered
matter. She's talking about just fucking killing folk.
We'll come to the issue of choices in a second, but it is quite striking that a lot of this seems to be about signalling rather than actual military advantage.
Yeah, I think I was talking to someone who knows far more about this than I do last night.
Nailed it! Former Labour Communicators Director. I'm a fucking clairvoyant and I know it. You can tell with the fucking. Well, look at the look. He's gripping like a big fucking he's like a prawn. You know, he's like bent over.
And therefore, unconditional.
That other cunt sitting up straight like a well-whipped Maggie Thatcher child.
Becoming a very uncomfortable position.
And then the bit of totty in the middle, the sandwich, the cock sandwich.
Well, in fact, that's interesting because if I read,
then your token black guy that's trying to be like Trevor McDonald. But I only use he's no Trevor McDonald.
Israel, not the Israeli government. But is it possible, in reality, to make that distinction?
Oh, mate, you shouldn't have had that fucking rolling sausage you smell and just came back on you.
Self-defense does not usually involve bombing an embassy in another country. It is becoming, Israel cannot function alone without its
DJ
allies.
man, you ever
And
tried
Netanyahu
DMT,
is
buddy?
making
That's
Israel
a
quite lonely
fucking
at the moment.
And I think it's really interesting. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but what Craig said about Foreign Office being in touch with Benny Gantz, not Netanyahu. Benny Gantz
stole my name?
Is Netanyahu's #1 opposition, who's calling for elections, who keeps reminding people that Netanyahu's facing 3 trials for fraud and corruption.
You know, there's a
and so
conspiracy
on.
out there
in the war cabinet.
Yes, he's in the war cabinet, but he's calling for elections.
Craig
Just
Houston
last week, he was saying that 70% of the population wants elections in September, that it's time that maybe his support for Netanyahu in this emergency wartime
it's a
government,
conspiracy
the
to take away my name from myself.
Spreading thin now.
I think what we're all seeing is
he's a poor man's Trevor McDonald.
Long-term trajectory. At the moment,
maybe he's Trevor McDonald's
position has been rather bolstered. The President of the United States has had to come out, David Cameron come out, make very, very clear whose side that they are on, and also make clear that Iran needs to get back in this box.
Chinless fucking wonder.
Whether or not
mate,
that lasts long,
hello, McFly, where's your chin?
Figure in Israel, but he
I'm
is
sorry, man, I
on,
can't
and
listen
the
to people
more
with that kind
Israel
of.
is seen to be under threat.
Well,
the more chance I think he has.
I don't like to.
Yeah.
I mean, what's striking here
you
is
get
that, almost everything,
especially
that happens
Middle
seems to reduce
England, man,
everybody's
up here in
choices.
Scotland.
The Americans can't now
Because it's the
lean on
middle
Netanyahu,
class.
so
I
that
wouldn't
might
say
not
it's the problem, but it's the
disloyal.
middle class. It's the pompous arseholes because they're still trying to climb the social ladder. But the people at the top of the social ladder, they just don't give a fuck. They're just rolling in dough, floating about, living their life, having a good time. And they don't look down, in my experience, they don't really look down on the scumbags of the world. But it's the middle class, or they want to be middle class, that look down on the lower class. So get rid of the middle class and just have scumbags and the well-to-dos, and especially up here in Scotland, it'd be all good.
Israel, they were waiting for some sort of retaliation retaliation to the attack.
Doing in England, man, you'd need a bigger call.
To come.
They'd get
Meanwhile,
more
the far right of the coalition government was making Netanyahu promised to go in on that
class
offence
muppets
in Rafah, saying that, unless the hostages are released, we want you, Netanyahu, to lead this invasion into Rafah. So you've got a situation where things are looking more and more out of control. As Tom said, we've got Netanyahu clinging on because he knows the minute he
do your due diligence and all these people, and you'll see that and his dad was done.
Two nuclear.
You'll see that these people are all spooks.
Nations, and given that Trump
a lot of them,
out
especially when it comes
Iran
to
deal
wartime,
back in
which we're in, and then you get the security correspondent. What the fuck does that mean? Does he bounce around making sure that no fucking Allah Akbar's getting the BBC studio? Didn't think so.
The Israelis now.
He does look like a prawn, doesn't he? He's like that fucking muppet.
I think our government's position has to be held to account. We haven't yet seen the legal advice over arms sales to Israel. What I do think, though, is, I look at Labour's position. I hear lots of criticism of Labour's position. Why can't you take a stronger stance? I know what Labour is trying to do, which is to demonstrate that in government it will be a stable ally rather than somebody who will sort of try and posture for the sake of it. I think it's quite important that in a very, very unstable situation, there are people ready to be stable, there are people ready to be grown up, and there are people always willing to compromise, because the events in the Middle East are driving out compromise and driving out nuance.
Basically admitting that our democracy means sweet Fanny Adams. It doesn't matter who you put in, you have to appease the shit that's going on worldwide. There is no if, buts or maybes about it. So, it doesn't matter who you vote in, they can't get voted in, apparently with that fucking idiot who's a ex-Labour spokesman director.
Politician, and what he's doing is posing to the West an unanswerable question. What would you do in these circumstances? And actually the answer is we'd be
he's
pretty
no ex-army, he's just a chinless
using that and hanging over.
Cunt.
In number 10,
Here, mate, button your fucking shirt up.
To speak to our allies, the
Don't
United
show us
States,
your shaven chest,
there is going to be a G7 meeting that
prick.
Biden has called today to say, look, what can we possibly do to take the heat out of this? The world is deeply worried that this could escalate.
And this is only 9 in the morning.
Not just military consequences, but also financial consequences around the world. And so I think the G7 meeting,
99% of drones
ready
and missiles intercepted. I like that number. That's how we round up number. 99%. My fucking finger kills 99% of bogies in my nose.
If any.
Fucking tried and tested method, yo.
To show up for duty at the G7 meeting.
99% effective.
Constantly.
I'll put that in a bottle.
What diplomacy can we use around the world to take the heat out of this? We've got a limited role in that.
Majority of missiles
behind Biden and
intercepted outside of borders.
Okay, we'll come back to you all in a moment. It is now 9 o'clock. You're watching Sunday Morning with Trevor Phillips. Israel.
I didn't even get Trevor McDonald's name.
Attack on Israel overnight. A barrage of missiles and drones were shot down by Israeli
I bet she changed his name trying to be
Kingdom,
fucking Trevor McDonald 2.0.
Iran says the attack has concluded, but Israel remains on high alert. No one was killed and there was almost no damage. International leaders have called for restraint and de-escalation. Israeli Prime Minister...
No one was killed and there was almost no damage. Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut, McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza. If you don't see what that is, that's just a Google search of Gaza. Google image search. I'm doing my research, y'all. Look, Google image search, first page. Don't even... I'm researching it, y'all. Look, really... I'm going doing really deep research. Right, but you don't need to go far to many outlets to see what the fuck Gaza is, man. It's been an open air prison, free range prison camp for a long time. Everything getting in and out is strictly controlled. That's a prison camp in my fucking book. It's been flattened after the animal got out of the cage And see, when I say the animal get out of the cage, I'm not talking about Palestinians being animals. I'm using the analogy of if you cage up an animal, if that animal can get out, or you let it out, or what have you, it's going to fucking bite you, man. You can't turn around and act surprised that the animal's fucking raging at you for caging it up, stealing its shit, and feeding it what you deem to be fucking it worth. It's no mystery. Anyway, sorry, like, fucking hell. Let's get back to the fireworks. Oh, how pretty that one is. Oh, it's almost like a constellation. Where's the astrologers trying to fucking make shit out of this? Wait, where's the Sky News? Back to Trevor McDonald and Big Ben
has
behind
spoken
them.
to President Biden, who will call a meeting of G7 leaders later. In the last hour, the Health Secretary has told this programme that United Kingdom military jets were sent to the region overnight, but the government here wants to see de-escalation. Let's get the latest now again from the region, our Middle East
Right, I need to interject, man. I need to interject for 1 second. Man, oh, God almighty. I have a fucking compulsion to stick my tuppence worth in when I see, like, them trying to grasp on to the power that they think them still might have to control the narrative. No.
Correspondent Alistair Bunker, the latest government here wants to see de-escalation.
Right. The people have memories like a goldfish, because they certainly rely on it. The news cycle relies on it. They need new sensationalist shit to fill your head. Brrr. That's what that post office tripe is turned into. Can you imagine if I was dictator? Sorted overnight like that. No problemo. But no, it's getting dragged out like a drama. Oh wait, it was actually a fucking drama on the TVs with the BBCs. Fuck me, man. What world are we staying in? And now they're talking about we want a de-escalation. Hey, does anybody remember what happened in the UK Parliament for the first time ever in its hundreds and hundreds of years of existence? The Speaker fucked up the opposition's question day. The long of the short of it, he threw a spanner in the works, deliberately blaming the threat on MPs. Have any of them been killed or stabbed yet? Didn't think so. To stop a ceasefire going into Gaza, and if a ceasefire went into Gaza, you never know that we might not be here where we are right now. It's almost as if, I mean, like, honestly, I'm fucking stupid. And I could have predicted, in fact, not could have, I did predict all this. Because it's almost as if they're saying one thing and doing another. So, common sense would dictate that you would ignore what they say and watch what they do. And if you do that, you'll get a better idea what motherfuckers are actually doing. And the power brokers and that run and dominate the country of Israel are deliberately, and remember how many Jews are there in the world? 6 million or something? Hold on, I'm acting like I've not got a brain. Which I don't. But I do. 6 million worldwide? No, I'm getting that wrong. There's more than that. How many Jews are there worldwide? 15.7 million, right? So if you manage to take control of a whole religion which you detest, I'm talking about the fundamental Christians who hate Jews. Proddies and Catholics alike hate Jews because they killed the baby Jesus, and that's their main man, apart from the Catholics, who their main man is the Pope. But fuck game. But you get the point. So let's say, like, we're all quite happy to accept that Iran's get proxies and the West has get proxies, and ISIS is just fucking whoever pays them the most money to convince some stupid, backward, retard, fucking brown cunts in the sand to go and blow shit up. They're anybody, they're the hookers of the terrorist world, right? They go to the highest bidder and they'll do it. Because here's a reality, seeing shitholes of the world where the education level is very low, people that are susceptible to religion through the fucking roof, so they'll believe any fucking bull crap that any cunt with a bit of brains that want to manipulate some cunt, they'll believe it, and then boom, there you go, you've got your wee terrorist cell. Just a bunch of fucking idiots that you've promised 10 camels and fucking 3 wives to or some shit. So, aye. Brain fart, so I'll get back in.
Let's get the latest now again.
Oh, I was talking about the UK Parliament being usurped. It's almost as if there's entities out there that want this all to happen, and who wants it to happen? Well, people who want to dominate that area of the world. Where's that area of the world went from? It's went from the Ottoman Empire, the East Roman Empire, which lasted longer than the West Roman Empire, but that was predominantly Muslim. The Roman Empire had a Muslim section and a Christian section, and that was in charge of that area of the world, the Ottoman Empire, the ex-East Roman Empire, until the World War One, and then that's when fucking shit started getting put in place, and boom shakalaka. And let's not forget you had a lot of military orders, a lot of knight orders, not knight orders, but orders of knights, back in the medieval times and the Crusades and stuff, that swore oaths that passed down to their kin to facilitate the passage of Christian pilgrims to the Holy Land. And that's happening. Christians can pretty much go unmolested to and from the Holy Land, no problem. But what have you got? You've got Jews and Muslims fucking killing each other endlessly over places that the fucking Christians don't give a flying fuck about. Dome in the Rock, the Glory Wall, but the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, safe passage for the Christians. The rest of you idiot religions can go and murder yourselves in the name of gods that we don't believe in. Right, so do you think religions are smart enough to have proxies? Let's call it the political ideology of Zionism, which has usurped the whole, not the whole of Judaism, not most of Judaism, to be like it's like the SNP tried to do it in Scotland. The SNP was swinging its dick. We represent the whole of Scotland. Like, no, you don't, man. You're just relying on retards that like Braveheart when they were young. Fuck you, Mel Gibson. I like your films, but you fucked us up with the SNP and your Braveheart pish, man. Just ushered in the SNPs to fucking take over of Scotland, man. Which ain't good. I fucking hate it. Anyway, let's get back to the fucking World War III, man. Live.
Action of all countries, not just in the region, but internationally, working to prevent
Try to tell me your head isn't a pea.
in the light of these truly appalling attacks.
I don't want to make this...
It's not like an orange on a cocktail stick, it's like a fucking grape on a cocktail stick.
Has been a tricky issue for the Labour Party. There are different views within the party. Is there any risk here, do you think, that there may be different points of view emerging? Because there are some people, I guess, within the Labour Party who would say that actually the problem here was Israel's attack on Damascus.
Well, I think we've seen, look, there's a history here for Iran's operations in the region. We have seen really not just their operations in the region, we have obviously seen deeply concerning over some time operations in other countries as well, including concerns about the IRGC operations here in the UK, where we've seen obviously attacks on the Iran international journalists and other concerns more widely about security, as well as their long-standing operations within the region. So that's why I think it's really important for all of us to strongly condemn the Iranian attacks and their decision to escalate things. So I think that is important, and I think everybody would agree with that.
All right. You won't be surprised that I want to ask you about the situation with Angela Rayner. There's a police investigation going on, so obviously we can't discuss the rights and wrongs.
I need a better way of fucking wording that.
One of the things that I think interesting here is that she's repeatedly said
there's lots of orders and nights.
Advised legally she'd done nothing wrong.
I don't know.
Keir Starmer says that members of his team have seen that.
Hey, hold on, she looks too much like an alien.
But he hasn't. It's his reluctance
She's
to
defying
that
gravity
advice
with that
deliberate,
pee
or
does.
just because he hasn't got time. Why
Fireworks,
does he
well
not
disappointing.
know what that advice says?
This guy's got cool
To be
hair. Let's
seen
listen to
how
him
this
again.
dangerous game of brinkmanship will unfold in the days and weeks ahead.
Right, with so much going on, let's cross live now to Tawhid.
This guy's so fat, he sounds like he's too lazy to fucking talk.
Always a pleasure to see you. Sad times we're seeing
don't
right
only
now.
get
We've just
fat,
heard
pompous
there
fucking
that
twats on
Iran
top
said
TV.
if further actions are taken, it would respond more severely. What do you make of the tactics we've seen? I mean, this is the first time Tehran has been directly involved.
Can I just say something? I'm not playing this at half speed. I'm not playing that at half speed. That guy really does speak that fucking fat and lazy and slowly. It's almost like I'm too fat and lazy to say the fucking words.
Putting the West Asia on the verge of a full-fledged war, and that is quite dangerous. But at the time being, I think in respect of the retaliatory attacks that took place last night, we can see that a new chapter is ushering in the history of West Asia, in that so far Iran tried to practice sort of strategic patience, but as a matter of misfortune, Israelis wrongly misinterpreted this as a sign of lack of capability or indifference to respond. And for that, considering the fact that a series of obnoxious behavior, including assassinations, including assassination of Iranian top military advisor Sayyid Razi Mousavi in Damascus, and recent cyber attacks, and latest of which I can refer to the attack in consulate, they decided to go to an extent that required a tough response from the Iranian side. Of course, I'm strongly convinced that it was the second slap in the face of the Israeli regime. The first was indeed takes back. You can see it when they started the invasion to Gaza, and after months of invasion and brutal onslaught of people, they gained nothing and they failed. And in order to cover up this catastrophic situation, Netanyahu had this bad mistake to open a new front against the resistance movement. They were not able to win the fight against a limited group of militia with limited access to advanced weaponry in Gaza. And now they are sort of in a assumption that they can go against the war against Iran as a country with access to advanced weaponry. The truth is that Iran knows how to play by the rule of diplomacy. That's why prior to this retaliation, it went to the United Nations, it went to the Security Council, called for the action against this brutal action that they did against the Iranian consulate. The result was nothing. Iran also knows how to play by the rule of power politics. But as a matter of misfortune, Israelis decided they chose to play by the rule of jungle.
The operation helped us gain a lot of information about their defensive measures, and if they retaliate, our next response will be much larger.
Okay, some high-ranking officers there from Iran speaking. Ali Risk, the one thing that is clear from what statements were made there is that Iran is going to counter-react no matter what type of retaliation Israel is going to show to whatever interest Iran has, wherever they are located. And that is somewhat changing the rules of the game in terms of the Iranian stance. The question that comes about here is the fact that what would Israel use in its calculations at this point, knowing that the U.S. stance ironclad, but yet opposes a counter-reaction by
I don't know if people get
Israel
headphones
on
in
this.
now, right? Because I've got the microphone open.
Indeed, I think
They've
that
not
we
even
can
get a
talk
filter
about
to
an
take
Israeli
background
double
noise,
failure
simple
in these
filter.
events that have unfolded. I think the first failure was, of course, the fact that you saw Iranian missiles and drones entering into Israeli airspace, and hence, you know, Israel was clearly
Fucking sick of seeing this
subject
shite.
to a very, very serious attack. That's
You don't
failure
see that in the
number one.
Western press, do
Failure
you?
number
Those
two,
ones.
which I think is equally
You only see the ones in the
important,
sky, no the
is that they
contacts
failed in
on the
getting the
ground.
Americans on board. And I think in that respect, Netanyahu...
Right, that
maybe
was 1,
pushed his
2
luck this time
before
round.
that. That's 3, 4. Let's say they're separate. Uh-oh, Illuminati. Coming at ya. Fucking is. Right. Because they knew I was going to tell everybody the meaning
Second
of life.
response appears to indicate that Netanyahu pushed his luck too far this time, and that's the second. And,
How many were they saying?
as I said,
200
maybe
or
the
some
more
shit?
important failure. Interestingly, in those statements made by
300.
the Iranian military officials, I think two things stand out. Number one is the
They said
focus on military
99%.
targets, as opposed, you know, to attacking other civilian targets
I'm
or
gonna
any other
get
kinds of
calculated
targets. And the second was the
300
emphasis by Iranian officials on the fact that
divided
we've
by
concluded the
100.
retaliation. That's it. What does that
Is
mean? It means that the
1%.
Iranian operation first and foremost wanted to
Times
establish
99,
deterrence and was not seeking
99%.
escalation.
That means
Now,
they're saying
that,
only 3
makes
drones
Iran appear as
got
a
through,
rational and not a
and
reckless actor.
we've seen 2
as
there.
some people, particularly Israel and
Contact
its
from
supporters
2,
in Washington, try
and
to
if
show
it's
or
not
try
the same
to
footage, it's
promote.
4.
So I think
So
even
there's
the
1, 2
Iranian
after each other.
operation, you know, the tempo of the operation
Well, there's
was
3.
a,
Is that
you know,
the
a
3 that got
significant but at
through?
the same time a controlled operation. And the Iranian statements also reflect a great level of responsibility, which takes away any pretext from the
Right,
Israelis
so that's the
or their
only-
supporters in Washington to say, look, this Iranian
there was a
government
flash
poses
there.
a
What the
danger
fuck
to
was that?
regional
Was that in the
stability.
sky or on the
It has to be
ground?
dealt with. It's a threat which can't be tolerated. I think that the Iranian behavior in what took place all, you know, eliminates or prevents such
Yeah,
arguments
flashes,
from
but
being
can you
advanced.
tell it's on the ground or
Well,
on the
David Miller,
sky?
when it comes to the rationality that Iran has used, it is something that, as our guest there indicated, is within the confines of international law, as opposed to the way that the Israeli regime has conducted itself.
Dozens of our drones.
One of the outcomes
Somebody's
that
not
perhaps
telling
may
us the
come out of this, and that's my question
truth.
to you, is whether this will change the behavior of the Zionist regime when it
Right,
comes
so
to what
if
it's
it
doing
was
to the
300
Palestinians, given the fact that we have seen how Iran has used
Oh, it shoots down 300.
a measured approach, even though it showed the power and the might of its military in terms of the missiles and drones that rain down on
Right, so
occupied
again, there's
Palestine,
the-
where Israel is occupying.
There's the contradiction. Dozens of drones got through. 300 were shot down.
David Miller, are you with us?
99%
Yes, I'm
of
enjoying
missiles.
that question. Yes, hello. Yes, of course. I mean, the Zionist regime is in a state of difficulty.
Scotland rules the world,
As
I
everyone
told you.
saw who watches the feed from Gaza, there were no attacks
Iran
on
loves
Rafah last
Scottish
night.
kids.
There were no drones overhead in Gaza. This morning, we see that bakeries have opened in Gaza for the first time in 6 months. And that, of course,
Can I just say, by the way,
very, very real
this isn't my audio,
material
open
effect
shite,
on what's
it's
happening. We
fucking
don't want to
theirs.
forget Occupation forces have withdrawn almost all of their forces from Gaza.
Guy sounds like he's in a fucking
mainly only in the middle where they
echo
want to make a
chamber.
break in between North and South Gaza.
Echoey thing
And
in the
that
world.
process has already been happening. The Americans have already been pressuring them. Of course, they might want to think about going into the north where they have this dead zone when
Thinking about putting some filters on, sorting your audio out.
5 months or so. But the regime doesn't really know what to do. That's the difficulty.
Becoming an audio snob. I can't listen to shit when it's
effect
just...
on the Palestinians, well, we can't say exactly, but it looks like that they are pulling back a little bit. The resistance factions have rejected the latest offer from the Zionists, and so this is very likely to make a significant material impact in the short term, never mind in the medium to long term, on the attack on the Palestinians. But of course, let's remember, it has also inspired people across the region. We saw people demonstrating in support and celebrating all over the region, as well as, of course, people in the West Bank breaking down the apartheid wall and bursting through, at which point the IDF, the occupation forces, as
so there's two.
And
that
settlers
footage
in
is
the
real,
region
definitely
have
two.
disappeared. So we're seeing quite a dramatic
Where's the
change
dozens?
in the confidence of people to challenge.
Is that the same footage?
occupation.
Because it's like a double strike, which was the first one was
what
like...
about the fact that these
suppose you could
resistance
time it and all
groups, such
that
as
shit, you
Hezbollah
had
and others,
the
when
inclination
they have
bad
seen
one.
what has occurred, will that increase their military offensive against the Israeli regime? And what can we see from the Israeli regime? For example, Mariam Saleh, our correspondent, said that perhaps Israel is going to up the ante and increase its attacks in southern Lebanon against Hezbollah, maybe in a move to militarily then go on a full offensive against Lebanon. Are we going to see, what are the repercussions from what has occurred here when it comes to those scenarios?
I'd be cautious in making such a conclusion that these particular events will lead to a full-scale Israeli offensive on the Lebanese front. I think that actually the case might be the opposite. Israel will be forced to ease the tempo of its operations. For a simple reason is that these capabilities which you saw on display from Iran,
double audio,
it's very likely that Hezbollah possesses capabilities which might be very similar.
My God, man, they can build and fucking drones to hit Israel, but they can't fucking sort out a fucking live stream with decent audio. Fuck me, man.
One of the main
What's wrong with these
reasons behind
cunts?
that is its close alliance with Iran, in addition to the fact that Hezbollah also has its own missile and weapons production capabilities. So I don't, I'm not very supportive of that theory which says that this escalation or that this operation which Iran launched will lead Israel.
But boys and girls, I'm going to wrap it up at the bottom of the hour.
Against Hezbollah.
Watch a wee bit of Sunday brunch.
You have to remember as well that the Biden
Cook myself some
remains very much
breakfast.
opposed
And get sorted for the
Lebanon. It made that clear since day one.
But
maybe it's possible that the
I left a
Israelis
live
might
stream going last
escalate
night,
by
but
going ahead with the
the
operation
stream,
in Rafah.
because it was on YouTube,
so the
crashed.
escalation might continue to be isolated within the
and I wanted to
Palestinian
get up to
context.
speed to
But
what happened overnight.
when it comes
and
to other
little to
arenas,
fuck all,
again, I think that
but it's
not
there to get
impossible,
escalated if people
but I
want
think that
it
is
to.
unlikely given the.
Now, I would imagine if
very
Iran was
close
launching
alliance
that
with Iran
strike,
and
they would have
Hezbollah
assets
possibly
on the ground,
possesses
out with their cameras,
advanced
knowing where these
technology
things are
similar
going to
to the
hit.
one that Iran possesses.
So you would get
So
more
there's you mentioned
footage
something
than
that
what
is
they're
pretty
showing
important, and
if
that is
they
the fact that you have Palestinians that
had a
have
lot get through.
now have an incentive, and they went out and they broke that apartheid wall. Based on at least what we're seeing in the social media
General
posts. And that's quite
Salamini,
significant.
my dick
Do you
is
think that
bigger
this
than
was a
your
spark
dick.
that
I
was needed
swung
for
it
the
like
Palestinians
last night and I
to
hurt
rise
the
up?
US.
And are we going to see
and
this
it's
expand
authorities,
in
the
terms of
Zionist
them
authorities
going
in
out
the
and,
face with my big
committing
dick.
acts such as breaking down the apartheid wall, or maybe
Pretty sure that's
give
verbatim what it
rise
says.
to
I'm
them,
translating for the
acting
illiterate
against
out there.
Israeli regime forces, which they have done so on many occasions.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's, all of this is, the resistance forces call this the escalation ladder, don't they? This is all a question of escalation, and some of this is very, very measured and step by step, as we've seen.
Some gears on
for
the
example, in the
gear,
case of
some
Hezbollah,
gears on the
where
gear.
the missiles which they have
Right,
used to enforce
I'm not going to punch myself anymore. Nobody's really saying anything nothing new. I don't think there'll be anything new today unless there's other strikes. But I'm going to tune into the Fita Ball. So, thumbs it up. Parent, friends, family, foes. If you like that shit, I need to go and buy some vegetable oil of WD-40 for my chair. I'm going to go and make. I've got some amazing American style. Got streaky bacon. I'm going to make a BLT again. Obama to be number. Yeah, there's something weird about my thing waiting. I can never see that because of the stupid ass heart. And you can't see the end of some chips and curry. Oh, I went to number 10 for some chips and curry. Right, get it now. Read it now. He's friendly with the. Oh, it's a secret. Anyway, DJ GG Roberto. Miss Ellis, I'm saying that right, Devon, and everybody that's joined. I think it's been on for a good while now, man. That's what happens when you go to your bed early. You get up early, then you want to have a nap, afternoon nap, or an early morning nap. So, aye, thank you, and hopefully I'll get a hold of Gordon and we'll do the Glasgow cast at some point. It was my bad not doing it last Tuesday. I need to do it earlier. Before I just went to crawl into my bed. And there we have folks. Iran, for the first time in history, directly attacking Israel with drones. And it seemed to be a nothing burger. So let's hope they do not retaliate. But do you think they will? I think they will. Somehow, some way, they can't be seen. God knows. Time will tell. Get it? Got it. Good. Cat cheese, no cats or cheese. Maybe only some Iranian herpes were harmed in this filming.
Clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell.